Carolyn Doobie here. What's the play for today? Well, today's play is a little bit of pattern and color play. I'm using a crayon rubbing that I made using a stencil. And how I did this? Well, I've got a video for how to make a crayon rubbing with a stencil, and I'll have the link down below for you. But basically, it's just like what you did in elementary school when you put the leaf under it and do the crayon rubbing, except this time it's a stencil on it. And what this allowed me to do is just make a whole bunch of these so that I can easily and quickly just play around with different colors, patterns, and see how one pattern can look differently with different color combinations. Well, here are a couple that I've already got colored in. So I've got one that has the rainbow here, and I've got one that's in that traditional blue and yellow that I think of with Matisse. So two different looks to them based on what colors that I use. Well, I decided on this one what I want to do is try and play around with just blues, not bring anything else into it and see what happens. And I'll give you a hint, I don't follow that plan. I'm going to be using the all-purpose ink from Sukaniko and some Fantastix. If you've never used these before, what they are is like this very solid, dense foam tip, pen type thing that you dip into the ink. And it's got a fine tip and a bolder tip, and I'm going to do the fine tip for this. This one's very, very dry right now, and as soon as I dip it back in that color, it will act just like a brand new super, super juicy marker. Now, what I'm going to be coloring on is the crayon rubbing, and that was made with a black Crayola marker and a stencil called Cutouts Inspired by Matisse that I designed for over at StencilGirl Products. And I'm just going to trace along the lines here and fill it in with color. And I've already abandoned my plan of doing all blues for this one by bringing in the green. And I kind of thought, well, that teal color, that's kind of like blue meets green, so the green goes along with it. And they are very similar. They are very, well, they belong together, these colors. But I will tell you by the end, I'm going to bring in a color that does not belong. I couldn't just do the subtle. I had to do something bold. One of the things that I really enjoy about using the Fantastix when I'm coloring a bunch of stuff in is because I get to control how much ink is on the tip. So if I want it to be super, super juicy, then I'm going to dip it into that well quite a bit. If I want a little bit softer look or I want it to be a little bit drier, then I'm going to play with it longer and let the ink run out of the tip. But what I really like is that I get to control which way I want it to be. So this is the point when I'm getting near the end of coloring in the blues and greens that I decided I wanted to do something that would really pop against it. I wanted a color that would sort of stand up and be noticed. And that's not going to be blue, and it's not going to be green. I thought for a second about yellow, and a bright sunshine happy yellow is often a good choice, but that's not the one I went with here. I wanted something that was really going to pop and make these colors stand out. And that's exactly what orange does when you put it next to green or blue. It makes those colors pop, so that is why it became the one I went with for coloring in this background. Now, I'm also willing to accept who I am and how I do things. And one of the things about me is I'm not that patient. So for me to color in an area like this, it's going to have to be a very juicy pen, a way that I can really sort of cover a lot of territory quickly, because I'm just not at that meditative phase of my life yet. I still enjoy that instant gratification of covering that space quickly with color. So that's why I made sure I chose something that was going to be very juicy and would allow me to cover that space. So what am I going to do with these colorful papers now that I've made them? Well, they're going to go into my paper stash. And what that means is anytime I'm making something and I want some patterned paper, I'm going to be able to grab these. So whether or not I'm making a card, whether I'm making a collage, am I working on an art journal page, an ATC, whatever it is, these are there and ready for me to grab. Well, thanks so much for joining me for today's play. If you've been enjoying this video, I'd be so grateful if you let people know that you enjoyed it by giving it a thumbs up or by sharing it. And if you'd like to know when I have another video out, hit that subscribe button. That way you'll know as soon as it happens. Well, thanks so much for letting me be a part of your colorful journey.